What is up, everybody? This is the Wild Nutrition Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Heskett, and this is episode 72. We have another Unapologetic Friday. So, as usual, I'm going to set that timer, try to keep myself on time, especially because I am on a time crunch today. And as always, there's going to be, this is raw, unfiltered, and there's probably going to be cursing. So, if you don't want that, you have kids in the car, you might want to, listen to maybe Monday's episode or a past episode. With that being said, let's get this going. So today is going to be all about you can't lose if you don't quit. So let's get this timer going. So as always, make sure to check out the show notes for the free stuff down there, the Rucking Guide, the 5-day faster fat loss course, and other stuff. But what I mean with today's topic, the title of today's podcast, you can't lose if you don't quit. So when it comes to weight loss, trying to improve our health, trying to lose weight, a lot of people think that I'm either on or an off, or I can't lose weight, or I can't do this, I should just give up. Or there's a time. So this is a very important thing. If you haven't thought of it this way, your journey to improving your health, to becoming that best version of yourself, does not end ever. Until you're 6 feet under. And I know that sounds really morbid, but it doesn't fucking end. It will continue for the rest of your life. So if you're like, when's this workout thing going to end? When's this watching what I eat thing kind of going to end? It doesn't. It doesn't until, this is just going to be your new lifestyle. And unfortunately, modern society has put up filters or made us think in ways that is very detrimental to our health, from having highly processed packaged foods that are hyper palatable and easy to overeat, to a sedentary lifestyle, to normalizing unhealthy things of, instead of going for a hike with your friends, the normal thing is to go get drunk and eat a ton of crappy food. Instead of, working your butt off, it is, you should take a break. You should take things easy. An example of taking things easy. So there's a very good organization called Girls Gone Strong. In fact, I've been a fan of them since college, back when I first found out about them, and they're still going strong. And they put up an advertisement about them teaching how to certification for training women who are pregnant. Because, if you don't realize that, your women who are pregnant are not porcelain dolls. You can work out. Our ancestors would be working out, moving around, doing things. They weren't put up and for 9 months they're like, oh, you can't do anything, you can't lift. No, you still had to be an active part of your tribe or your primitive society. You still had to do things. Yes, towards the end maybe, but you still moved around, you were still doing things. Or if things happened, you would still run away, you would do things. And I actually found this now. I don't have the actual article or anything in front of me, but they found that there was a mom that, terrible thing, but she, primitive, so not modern society, but she fell off a cliff and they found her remains and she was pregnant. And in fact, the baby was fine inside because it's basically the body builds this sac that is basically a giant air cushion to keep the baby safe. That's kind of the whole point there. So anyways, what I was saying is, so many people put the angry emoji on the Facebook advertisement, and they're saying this isn't safe, blah, 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 not knowing anything about it. Just women who are pregnant should just sit on the couch and overeat and do absolutely nothing, lift nothing. It is not safe, and which is just not the case. It is not the case. We have the research to back it that it is safe. You just have to modify things. And it was a woman deadlifting with 15-pound bumpers on. It's not a heavy weight. Maybe it's 75 pounds, which is not, heavy, especially if you work out. That's nothing. So it's what are you guys talking about? This is the filter that we look through things with society. So getting back to you can't lose if you don't quit. When it comes to weight loss, if you are struggling with losing weight, you don't stop. You just keep modifying the plan. You keep changing. You keep adjusting to your lifestyle. And when this becomes a lifestyle of you are making progress and improving your body, it doesn't stop. And those times where like you're not seeing progress, you just don't stop. I had times in my life where, I haven't had much in the way of like weight loss goals throughout my life. Thankfully, I'm lucky few that I got ahead of the curve, but my goal has always been put on muscle, put on muscle, put on muscle. And there are times where I just wanted to give up, like not seeing progress. You're tired, you're frustrated. There's other things going on in your life and you just kind of want to give up. And that is normal. You're going to feel like that. But the point is like during those times, like maybe it's a time to take a little bit of a break, but break isn't quitting. Like you're just taking a break and you're like, okay, I'm going to focus on other things. And that's what I would do. I would just like stop focusing so much on like trying to like build muscle and just like work out for the enjoyment of it. Like work out because I want to work out and because it makes my body feel good, and, be less focused on like, I'm doing these to build this specific, more just like, I'm just doing this because I like it and I need to do this to stay injury free. And then that changes over time to like, all of a sudden my motivation comes back and like, no, I want to start getting jacked again. I want to start building muscle again. I want to start building strength. And so that motivation is going to come and go, but the workouts and the diet don't stop. They just change. It's always going to change. Like if you think like you can diet and then just go back to the way you were eating before you're dieting, when you were severely overweight with the way you were eating before you were dieting, you can't do that. That put you in that position. That's not to say you can't eat those foods ever again, but you can't eat them like you were. Otherwise, you're going to end up back there. And that's the problem of the yo-yo diet culture of like fad diet, go back. Fad diet, go back to your quote unquote baseline. Your fad diet, do this. And over time, like each time, the diets get less and less effective as your metabolism starts to adapt and slow down, as your hormones start to adapt and down-regulate. Then you have less energy, you have less motivation, you're less willing to push it. And then all of a sudden you're seeing like each year you're gaining 5 pounds, and then it's 10 pounds, and it's slowly creeping up year after year after year. When the problem was that you jumped on a fad, found it was unsustainable, went back, you quit, went back, quitting whether you reached your goal or you're not, like regardless, you quit doing that protocol and you go back to the way you were normally eating. You can't do that. So if you want the results, you just don't quit. And when you're feeling like you're ready to give up, you don't quit. You just push through. This is the rest of your life. That's just how it's going to be. You're going to be doing this forever and ever and ever. But that also doesn't mean like you can't grind it out 24 hours a day, 365. Like you can't do it 7 days a week. You're going to have periods where like you're getting like 3 workouts in, and you're going to have periods where you're getting in 6 workouts. You're going to have periods where you're like dialed into your diet, and you're going to do other times of the year where it's like you are doing pretty good. It's not great, but it's pretty good. And that is the difference between someone who will reach their goals and maintain their goals and someone who will never ultimately reach their goal. And by reaching their goal, I mean get the weight off, improve their health, and then maintain it. And then move on from that goal. Because our goal, again, when it comes to weight loss, that goal, we have that for a variety of reasons. It might be self-confidence. It might be that you want to do more active things and the weight's holding you back. It might just be for health reasons, but it's never really just about the weight loss. It's not. So if you have that as like your end goal, like I just need to get the weight off, like cool, then what? Then what happens? Like it's not like magically your weight's going to be off and then you're going to be like, okay, well, I'm perfectly healthy now. I'm going to stop doing all this. Like you can't do that. But you're always going to want to strive for more and more improvements. This doesn't mean you have to run marathons, but you should be striving for like new goals to keep you pushing forward. You can't stop. And if you don't stop, you will reach your goals. So that's the point. Just don't stop. Just realize that this doesn't have an end date. It doesn't need to be 12 weeks from now. It doesn't need to be 6 months from now. It doesn't need to even be a year from now. I just had a client. He reached his goal weight this past week that we set out. Went from like 228 down to 185. Took a year and a half because of a variety of reasons. But if you set a goal of like, I want to do that in 6 months, he would be frustrated. But when we talked and there was so many things going on in his life, they couldn't focus 100%. Then it made he just didn't quit. He just kept going and going and going. And here we are. Now I can tell you, a year and a half later, he's at his goal weight. His original goal weight was to get to 200, and then we dropped he wanted to keep going. So we dropped another 15 pounds. So here we are a year and a half later with his modified goal of being 15 pounds lighter than his original goal weight. So 43 pounds off. Took a year and a half. But just think if you had started a year and a half ago, where would you be? Or if you start today after listening to this podcast, where could you be in 6 months, a year and a half from now? If you just don't give up, where can you be in a year and a half from now? Just think about that for a second. And whatever your goal is, you're probably going to be there. If you just extend the time horizon, all your health and fitness goals all of a sudden become way more realistic. When we're talking 12 weeks, 6 months, 6 months for a major body change is not a ton of time. Just think about with athletes with their pre and in season, getting ready for the season and then going through the season, it's a very short amount of time for 6 months. They're already fairly in shape, and then it's they have to get ready for the season, and then it's season, and then they have postseason. It's not a ton of time. 6 months is not a ton of time when it comes to your body. A year is more realistic. And you take time off the table, unless you have some really specific thing for whatever reason, take time off the table. And we need the time for setting smart goals. But if we realize our big, long goals, the big, hairy, scary goal, if we remove the time from that and we just focus on the time on some of our smaller goals, then all of a sudden those goals become way more realistic, as long as we, make sure we're staying focused at reaching that goal long term. And one thing that people get frustrated when it comes to weight loss is there's times of the year where it's going to be very difficult. Summer, right now, as we're doing this podcast, is a difficult time. We're in vacation season. We're in bonfire season where alcohol is breaking out, and backyard barbecue and party season. And then, we're going to go into fall. And fall's a lot of times a little bit easier, but then right after fall comes the holidays. So these can be tough times to lose weight, and you need to adjust your expectations. Are you actually going to be focusing on weight loss during these times? Yes, no. If yes, realize what sacrifices you have to make temporarily this year for it. So, for example, if you want to lose weight, I need to start today, and I'm not going to end till December, you might have to give up some of your holiday stuff in November. I'm not saying give up Thanksgiving, but you might have to give up some of the extras this year and this year alone. And if you're that is unacceptable, then it's okay, well, you're not dieting through November. You might want to diet till October, and then do a pause and then restart in January, and just change the way you think of it. You don't have to do this all the way through. That's the point of don't quit. Adjust your expectations, adjust the plan, make the plan work for you. I will not diet from Halloween on. I refuse to. And that's why I always bring it up, because for me, the holiday season's always super special. Growing up, my mom and dad, they always worked 7 days a week. It wasn't until we were older that they actually had Tuesdays off. They worked 7 days a week with the business. And so holidays were one of the few times that they were actually off work. So for us, it was always a big deal as kids. Mom and dad were actually off work. And now, before anyone says thing, their business was literally right next to the house. So we always saw each other. We always had family dinners together. All those things still happened, but they worked. Weekends, they worked. Then they were off at 5. And then Sundays, it was 12 to 4. So, we spent the morning together. We did Monday morning brunch. They worked for 4 hours, and then they were off by 4. So, it was just a little bit different childhood than other people. I don't regret it. In fact, it gave, I love that I got to work in that business with them. And then now here I am running my own business. But the point I'm saying is because holidays are so special to me with that and the nostalgia and everything that goes with it, I refuse to give that up once a year. Like, I'm like, it's once a year, so I refuse to do that. I will rather die in January, and I would rather give up the holidays after that. You know, for me, my wife, like, Valentine's is just Valentine's. Like, it's not something like crazy special. So nothing there. St. Patty's, we don't celebrate really. It's not until like Easter that we do like a small celebration. So it's like January until Easter, I have wide open on my schedule. I can do whatever I want. There's the timer. And then after that, you know, still like early summer, there's not too much going on with us. And then it's not until like now in summer that it's like, then like I want to enjoy all the summer food. We're pulling out of the garden. Like, we probably have like 20 pounds of tomatoes upstairs. Like, I don't want to be thinking about trying to fit this into my macros. I kind of just want to do intuitive eating and structure the rest of my day so that at night we can kind of eat what we want. And then if I need to diet, I'll do it in like September, early October. But come October, like fall food's coming out again, I don't want to focus on dieting. So I structure my year like that. Now, I never have more than like, say, 15 pounds to lose. So for me, I can do it all in that January to like April, May time frame. Not everybody can. If you have more weight than that to lose, you can't do that. Or if you want to start today, you know, obviously it's August. We're not even close to January. But you can set your expectations of like, okay, I'm going to diet for the next 12 weeks, take a little bit of a break, jump into January. And it goes really fast. When you start breaking up your year in 12-week segments, it goes really, really quick. Like, your year flies by. So that's normal. And that's why I say, like, if you're like thinking like 18 months, like 6 months, I should totally change my body. Like, no, like that's not a ton of time when it comes to changing your body, because a lot of times we go in 12-week spurts. That's 3 months. So you're doing 2 12-week spurts. Like, a lot of times, like, training programs are going to be like 12 weeks. So if like strength conditioning programs, like we might do a 12-week program, like that's the next 3 months. And that's just like the first phase. And then it's like, that might be your postseason program. And then you're going to go into like a preseason program. And then it's like in season. And you can see how fast that cycles when we're talking athletes. So when it comes to your own body, it's like kind of the same thing. Like, that's not a ton of time. So you should be thinking long-term, like, okay, short-term goals, great, but also like long-term goals, like what does this realistically look like over the next year and a half, 2 years? What does it look like? And it can change along the way. But when you set that up, you realize like, hey, this becomes way more sustainable. I just took the timeline like really off and took that pressure off myself. This becomes very sustainable, and I'm not going to quit. Like, I'm going to reach my goal. It's just, I'm not going to be that 30-day transformation, which most of those people don't sustain it. I want to sustain this, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it the right way. So that's today's podcast, guys. Like I said, I'm a little bit on the time crunch. So you can't lose if you don't quit. Your health and fitness journey does not end. It goes forever and ever and ever. Once you realize that, it's a whole different ballgame, and you realize that all your goals are on the table and actually achievable once you give it a long enough time frame. 30 days, not enough time. 6 months, okay for some goals, not enough time for many goals. You want to put on 30 pounds of muscle, you're not doing it in 6 months. With that being said, thanks for tuning in. As always, check out the show notes. Application to do 101 coaching with myself is down below for August. Make sure to fill that out, and I will reach out to you once I have see that application come through, along with the freebies and the Facebook community down below. But if you like the episode, make sure to give it a rating, give it 5 stars, and then also write a review, as I use those reviews to actually change up the show and do more content for the stuff you guys like to listen and hear about. So thanks for tuning in, guys. It also helps that other people find the show too. The more ratings, the more it gets pushed out. So please, please, please just take 2 seconds, give it a 5-star or even 4-star if you're like, it was okay, but you missed some points, Chris. Regardless, give it a rating. I don't see it. It's anonymous for ratings. If you write a review, sometimes Apple shows like who writes the review. But other than that, it's always appreciated. So thanks for tuning in, guys. And then stay tuned. Monday's episode, we have a sleep expert coming on. That one's really, really good. So stay tuned for that one. That's going to have some freebies down in the show notes that are going to be really good.